Brandon Keller's hand closed around Elena's collar. Big mistake. His face hit the table 3 seconds later, nose cracking, blood spraying, his confident smirk replaced by shock. Marcus lunged next. Elena's elbow crushed his solar plexus before he could blink. 7 seconds. TJ charged from behind. She threw him over her shoulder into scattered trays. 15 seconds. Devon backed away, hands raised. Quan froze. 22 seconds. 3 men down, 2 surrendering. The mess hall silent except for groaning. Brandon stared up from the floor at the quiet supply coordinator he'd surrounded, finally understanding what everyone was about to learn. They hadn't cornered a defenseless woman. They'd just attacked a Navy SEAL. Before we continue this story, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our incredible true stories. Stay with us until the very end. You won't believe how this unfolds. And comment below with your city so we can see how far our stories travel around the world. Now, let's get back to Elena's story. Elena's fork scraped against the plastic tray, the sound lost in the chaos of 200 sailors eating breakfast. She didn't look up, didn't need to. Her peripheral vision had already cataloged every person within 20 feet, every exit, every potential threat. Old habits didn't die. They lived in your muscles, in the split-second assessments your brain made before you even realized you were making them. The scrambled eggs tasted like cardboard, but she ate them anyway. Fuel was fuel. "Check out the supply girl," a voice carried from 3 tables over. Young, male. Cocky in that way that came from completing basic training and thinking you understood what real combat meant. Elena's jaw tightened, but she kept chewing. This wasn't her first rodeo. Wouldn't be her last. "Which one?" Another voice, deeper. "Corner table, brunette, eating alone like she's too good for everyone else." She could walk away. Should walk away. But 18 months of undercover work had taught her that walking away from small confrontations only invited bigger ones. Sometimes you had to hold your ground to maintain your cover. Supply coordinators didn't run from trash talk. The footsteps approached before the voices did. "Morning, ma'am." The sarcasm dripped like poison. "Mind if we join you?" Elena looked up slowly, her brown eyes meeting 5 pairs of younger eyes. The speaker stood at least 6'2", built like the college linebacker he'd probably been. Sandy hair, square jaw, and the kind of confidence that hadn't been tested by real failure yet. His uniform bore the SWCC insignia, Special Warfare Combatant Craft Crewman. Not quite SEALs, but Special Operations adjacent. Enough training to be dangerous, not enough to be humble. "Actually, I do mind," Elena said quietly, returning to her eggs. "Plenty of empty tables." The big one, Brandon, according to his name tape, pulled out the chair across from her anyway, the metal legs screeching against the floor. "See, that's the problem right there. That attitude, like you own the place." His 4 friends fanned out around the table, not sitting, positioning. Elena set down her fork with deliberate care. "I'm eating breakfast. You're the ones who walked over here uninvited." "You hear that, boys?" Brandon's grin widened. "Uninvited. Like she's holding court or something." He leaned forward, elbows on her table. "Let me tell you something, sweetheart. This is a Navy base. You're in a Navy uniform. That means you don't get to act like you're better than everyone else just because they stuck you in some cushy office job coordinating supplies." "I never said I was better than anyone," Elena replied, her voice still level. "I just want to eat in peace." In peace. The one to her left, Marcus, Asian features, trying too hard to fit in with this crowd, laughed. "You want peace? Join the Peace Corps. This is the military. We don't do safe spaces here. Elena's fingers curled slightly, then relaxed. Breathe. Stay calm. Don't blow 18 months of work because 5 children with egos got mouthy during breakfast. Look, she said, meeting Brandon's eyes directly. I don't know what your problem is, but I'm not it. Find someone else to bother. That right there, Brandon pointed at her, his voice rising enough that nearby tables were starting to pay attention. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Women in the Navy used to know their place. Nurses, administrators, support roles. Now they're everywhere, taking spots from men who actually belong in combat positions. The third one, TJ, tattooed neck, local accent that screamed Norfolk, nodded vigorously. My buddy got passed over for SEAL training. You know why? They had to meet some diversity quota. Now we got girls pretending they can do what he couldn't. Elena's coffee had gone cold, but she picked it up anyway, took a slow sip, used the moment to push down the anger building in her chest. That's not how it works, she said quietly. SEAL training doesn't have quotas. You either make it or you don't. Oh, she's an expert now, TJ laughed. Hear that? Supply Girl knows all about SEAL training. I know they don't let idiots who harass women in mess halls into the program, Elena said, her voice sharp enough to cut. So you're probably safe. Brandon's smile disappeared. What did you just say? I think you heard me. The fourth one, Devon, African American, looking increasingly uncomfortable with this whole situation, shifted his weight. Come on, Brandon. Let's just go. This is stupid. Shut up, Devon. Brandon didn't take his eyes off Elena. I'm not done here. Yes, you are. Elena stood up, gathering her tray. This conversation is over. Brandon stood too, blocking her path. His friends adjusted their positions, closing the circle tighter. Other sailors were definitely watching now, some pulling out phones, others looking around for security. We'll decide when it's over, Brandon said. You need to learn some respect. Respect? Elena's voice dropped to something colder, harder. You've been disrespecting me since you walked over here. You want respect? Try earning it. I earned my place here, Brandon shot back. I made it through SWCC training. What have you done? Counted boxes? Filed paperwork? The fifth one, Quan, young, immigrant story written in his careful posture and precise English, spoke for the first time. Brandon, maybe we should… I said shut up! Brandon's hand moved toward Elena's collar, not quite touching but threatening. You know what your problem is? You think that uniform makes you equal to men who actually fight. But when it comes down to it, you're just… Last warning. Elena's voice cut through his rant like a blade. Remove your hand. Or what? Brandon's fingers were inches from her shoulder now. You gonna file a complaint? Run crying to your supervisor? Time slowed in that way it always did when violence became inevitable. Elena saw everything with crystal clarity. Brandon's weight too far forward, Marcus shifting left to grab her if she bolted, TJ cracking his knuckles, Devon backing up half a step, Quan frozen in uncertainty. She saw the phones recording, the senior chief 3 tables over starting to stand, the kitchen staff reaching for the security phone. She saw all of it, processed all of it, and made her decision in the space between heartbeats. I gave you a chance, she said quietly. Brandon's hand moved the final inch, his fingers brushing her collar. Elena moved. Her left hand snapped up, catching Brandon's wrist in a grip that made his eyes widen in shock. Before he could react, she twisted, stepping in close and using his own forward momentum against him. The wrist lock brought him down fast and hard, his face slamming into the table with a sound that echoed through the suddenly silent mess hall. Jesus Christ! Marcus lunged for her, arms outstretched. Elena released Brandon, pivoted, and drove her elbow into Marcus's solar plexus with surgical precision. The air exploded from his lungs in a whoosh. He crumpled, hands clutching his stomach, unable to breathe. 7 seconds. TJ came at her from behind, trying for a bear hug. Amateur mistake. Elena dropped her weight, twisted, and grabbed his extended arm. A perfect sacrifice throw sent him flying over her shoulder. He crashed into a table, sending trays and food scattering. 15 seconds. Devon had his hands up, backing away fast. "I'm out! I'm out!" Quan stood frozen, eyes wide, clearly wanting no part of what was happening. Brandon pushed himself up from the table, nose bleeding, eyes blazing with humiliation and rage. "You bitch!" he charged, wild and stupid, all anger and no technique. Elena sidestepped, grabbed his uniform, and used his momentum to send him sprawling across the floor. He slid 3 feet before crashing into chair legs. 22 seconds. Marcus was on his hands and knees, gasping, still couldn't breathe properly. TJ was tangled in overturned furniture, moaning. Brandon lay on the floor, bleeding and stunned. Elena stood in the center of the chaos, her breathing barely elevated, her uniform barely wrinkled. The mess hall was dead silent, except for the groans of the defeated. "Holy shit," someone whispered. A phone clattered to the floor, forgotten. Senior Chief Ramirez pushed through the gathering crowd, his weathered face a mixture of shock and recognition. 20 years in the Marines, including a stint with Force Recon, had taught him to recognize elite training when he saw it. And what he'd just witnessed wasn't something you learned in basic self-defense classes. "Everyone back up!" Ramirez commanded, his voice cutting through the shocked silence. "Give them space!" Elena didn't move, didn't relax her stance. Her eyes scanned the crowd, cataloging faces, looking for additional threats, already calculating the fallout from what she'd just done. 18 months of careful cover work, potentially destroyed in 22 seconds. "Petty Officer Reyes," Ramirez's voice was careful, controlled. "Are you injured?" "No, Senior Chief." "These men attacked you?" "They surrounded me. One of them grabbed my uniform. I defended myself." Brandon struggled to his feet, blood streaming from his nose. "She attacked us! We were just talking to her and she went crazy!" "That's not what I saw," called out a sailor from the crowd. "They surrounded her. She tried to walk away. You grabbed her first." "Multiple witnesses," Ramirez said flatly. "Save your story for security." He keyed his radio. "This is Senior Chief Ramirez. Need security and medical to the mess hall. 5 involved in an altercation. Situation contained." Elena's mind was already racing through protocols. Cover blown or salvageable? Her real identity classified. Her mission ongoing and critical. This incident a disaster. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A text. One word. Abort. Her blood ran cold. Someone had been watching, someone from her real chain of command, and they were pulling her out. "Petty Officer Reyes," Ramirez said quietly, stepping closer. "Those weren't standard Navy combat techniques." Elena met his eyes, saw the question there, saw the recognition. "No, Senior Chief, they weren't." "You want to tell me what they were?" "Not particularly." Security arrived. 4 master-at-arms with hands on their sidearms assessing the scene. The lead MA, a woman in her 40s with salt and pepper hair, took one look at the 5 men in various states of defeat, and one small woman standing calmly in the middle. "Someone wants to explain this?" "Self-defense," Ramirez said before anyone else could speak. Multiple witnesses confirm these 5 surrounded and harassed Petty Officer Reyes. When one grabbed her, she defended herself. 5 against 1? The MA's eyebrow rose. "And the one is still standing?" "Training, Master Chief," Elena said quietly. I had training they didn't. The MA studied her for a long moment. What kind of training? Elena's phone buzzed again. She pulled it out, glancing at the screen. Another text. This time a coded sequence that made her stomach drop. Serpent. 6. To Overwatch. Cover blown. Need immediate extraction protocol. She typed back quickly. Acknowledged. Awaiting instructions. Petty officer, the MA's voice sharpened. I asked you a question. I need to make a phone call, Elena said. It's urgent. You need to come with us, the MA replied. Phone calls can wait. No, they can't. Elena's voice took on a tone that made even the senior MA pause. This is above your pay grade, Master Chief. I need to make a phone call to a number you don't have clearance to know about, regarding a situation you definitely don't have clearance to know about, and I need to do it in the next 60 seconds, or this situation gets a lot more complicated for everyone. Ramirez stepped forward. Master Chief Murphy, I think we should give her the call. On whose authority? Mine. The voice came from the edge of the crowd. A man in khakis pushed through, captain's eagles gleaming. Clear this area. Now. The crowd scattered like leaves. Security stepped back. Only Ramirez, the MA, and the captain remained, along with the 5 defeated sailors being helped to their feet by arriving corpsmen. Captain James Park wasn't assigned to this base. Elena knew because she'd memorized every officer on post as part of her mission prep, which meant he was here for something else. Or someone else. Captain, the MA began. This is a classified matter, Master Chief Murphy, Park said quietly. Your report will reflect that Petty Officer Reyes acted in self-defense against multiple attackers. The 5 men will be medically evaluated and then detained pending investigation. That's all you need to know. Murphy's jaw tightened, but she nodded. Aye, sir. Park turned to Elena. Petty Officer Reyes, with me, now. They walked in silence through the corridors, past staring sailors, past offices and equipment, until they reached a secure conference room. Park opened the door, gestured her inside, then sealed it behind them. The room was swept for bugs. Ina could see the detector lights blinking green. Serpent 6, Park said quietly. Or should I call you Ghost? Elena's jaw tightened. How bad is it? How bad? Park pulled out a tablet, turned it to face her. In the 6 minutes since your mess hall performance, footage of the fight has been uploaded to 17 different social media platforms. Combined views are already over 200,000 and climbing. The algorithm is loving this. Mystery woman destroys 5 military men in seconds. It's going viral as we speak. Elena's stomach dropped. My face? Crystal clear in multiple angles. Someone will identify you within hours, if they haven't already. The mission? Compromised. The mole knows we have someone on the inside now. They'll either run or go dark. Either way, 18 months of work is burned. Elena sank into a chair, the adrenaline finally wearing off, leaving exhaustion in its wake. I gave them multiple chances to walk away. I know. I watched the whole thing. Park pulled up more footage. I was at the base reviewing your progress when the situation developed. I saw you try to de-escalate 3 separate times. You did everything right. Except blow my cover. Except that. Park sat across from her. But here's the thing. The viral video might actually work in our favor. How? Because right now, the internet is trying to figure out who you are and what kind of training you have. Some people are speculating military police. Some think martial arts champion. A few are even guessing special operations. But nobody knows for sure. He leaned forward. We can control the narrative. Create a new cover story. Use the attention to further the mission instead of ending it. What kind of cover story? The truth, Partially. Park's eyes glinted. You're Elena Reyes, Navy SEAL, recently assigned to Naval Amphibious Base Coronado as a supply coordinator. Your SEAL status was classified for operational security, but now it's public. You defended yourself against harassment using your training. End of story. That's not end of story. That reveals I'm a SEAL on a base where I shouldn't be in that capacity. Exactly. Which means the mole will think we're reassigning you, pulling you out. They'll relax their guard. Meanwhile, you continue your investigation under a new cover, yourself. Elena processed this. You want me to hide in plain sight? You've already been hiding in plain sight for 18 months. Now you just do it as yourself instead of pretending to be someone else. Park pulled up more data. The 5 men who confronted you, Brandon Keller, Marcus Chen, Thomas Rodriguez, Devin Washington, Quan Nguyen. All SWCC trainees, week 3 of their assignment here. Keller is the ringleader, son of Admiral Richard Keller. Admiral Keller? Elena's eyes widened. Norfolk Fleet Command? The same, which means this situation just got politically complicated. Keller's father is already making calls, demanding your discharge for assaulting his son. I defended myself! I know that. The footage proves that. But Admiral Keller doesn't care about facts. He cares about his son's reputation and his own career. Park stood, pacing. Which is why we need to move fast. In the next hour, I'm going to brief the base commander on your real mission. Enough details to justify your presence and actions, not enough to compromise ongoing operations. Then we're going to hold a press conference. A what? Press conference. You, me, base commander. We control the narrative before it controls us. We confirm you're a SEAL, confirm you acted in self-defense, and turn this into a positive story about women in combat, instead of a scandal about special operations security breaches. Elena's mind was spinning. This is insane. Welcome to modern warfare, where social media moves faster than classified cable traffic. Park checked his watch. You have 30 minutes to clean up and get ready. I'll have a fresh uniform sent to your quarters. And Ghost? Yes, sir. Those were some damn fine techniques you demonstrated. Your instructors would be proud. After he left, Elena sat alone in the secure conference room, her hands shaking slightly as the adrenaline fully drained away. She pulled out her phone, looked at the encrypted messages, and typed a new one to her real commanding officer at Naval Special Warfare Command. Situation critical. Cover blown. Captain Park has planned to salvage mission. Request guidance. The response came within seconds. Trust Park. Proceed with his plan. Do not abort mission. Serpent 6 remains operational. Elena closed her eyes, leaning back in the chair. 22 seconds. That's all it had taken to upend 18 months of careful work. 22 seconds to go from ghost to headline. Her phone buzzed again, this time a civilian number. Unknown. She almost didn't answer, then curiosity won. Hello? The voice was distorted, run through a voice changer. Very impressive performance, Petty Officer Reyes. Or should I call you Serpent 6? Elena's blood turned to ice. Who is this? Someone who's been watching you. Someone who knows exactly why you're really at Coronado. Someone who knows what you're looking for. A pause. And someone who's about to make sure you never find it. The line went dead. Elena stared at her phone, the dead call still ringing in her ears. Someone knew. Not just about the mess hall fight. Everyone knew about that now. Someone knew about Serpent 6. About her real mission. About everything. Her hand moved to delete the call log, then stopped. No. This was evidence. This was a lead. She screenshot the number, sent it encrypted to Captain Park, then forced herself to breathe. Panic got operators killed. Training kicked in. Assess, adapt, act. The door opened. Park walked in carrying a garment bag. Fresh uniform, press conference in 20 minutes. He saw her face. What happened? Phone call, unknown number, voice distorted. They know who I am. They know why I'm here. Park's expression darkened. What exactly did they say? Elena repeated it word for word. Her memory for conversations was photographic, had to be in her line of work. They're trying to spook you, Park said. Make you paranoid, make mistakes. Or they're telling the truth. Elena stood, taking the garment bag. Either way, we just went from 18 months of runway to 72 hours, maybe less. How do you figure 72? Because that's how long it takes to sanitize 18 months of operational presence and disappear without trace. I've done it before. 3 days. That's the window. She met his eyes. If the mole is smart, and they've evaded us for 18 months, so they are, they're already packing. Park pulled out his phone, started typing rapidly. I'm getting NCIS to freeze all base departures, medical emergencies only. Nobody leaves without my approval. That'll tip them off that we're close. They already know we're close. That phone call proved it. Park looked up. The question is, how close? What do you have? Elena unzipped the garment bag, started changing uniforms while she talked. Park turned his back professionally. 3 dead SEALs in 14 months, all equipment failures during operations. 2 in Afghanistan, 1 in Syria. Official cause, combat stress on aging equipment. But I pulled the maintenance records. All 3 pieces of equipment, tactical radios, oxygen rebreather, parachute deployment system, all serviced within 48 hours of mission deployment. Could be coincidence. Could be, except all 3 were serviced by personnel who rotated through Coronado Supply Depot in the month prior, and all 3 pieces of equipment came from the same supply chain. She pulled on the fresh uniform shirt, her movements crisp and efficient. I've been tracking irregularities, small ones, a radio here, a regulator there. Nothing big enough to trigger audits, but consistent enough to be patterns. You think someone's sabotaging SEAL equipment? I think someone's been sabotaging SEAL equipment for at least 2 years. I think 3 men are dead because of it. And I think whoever's doing it just realized I'm 24 hours from proving it. Park's jaw tightened. The press conference goes forward. We stick to your plan. Make me public. Make them think I'm compromised and being reassigned. Meanwhile, I've got 72 hours to finish what I started. Alone? Elena buttoned her uniform, turned to face him. You have a better idea? Actually, I might. Park pulled up something on his tablet. Devin Washington, the trainee who backed down this morning. His file just landed on my desk. His father was Staff Sergeant Michael Washington, Army Rangers. Killed in action, Kandahar, 2019. Official cause, equipment failure during night operations. Elena's breath caught. What kind of equipment? Night vision goggles, malfunctioned during contact with enemy forces. He couldn't see, couldn't fight, couldn't retreat. Park's voice was grim. Guess where those NVGs were serviced? Coronado. Coronado. They stared at each other as the implications sank in. Devin doesn't know this, Elena said slowly. If he did, he'd be asking questions, making noise. He was 14 when his father died. Probably never saw the full investigation report. Just knows his dad died serving his country. Park forwarded her the file. But if someone told him the truth, he'd want justice, same as me. The question is, can you trust him? He was part of the group that surrounded you this morning. Elena thought back to Devon's face, the discomfort, the backing away, the hands raised in surrender. He was there, but he wasn't with them. Not really. He tried to stop it. Tried isn't good enough when lives are on the line. Nothing's good enough when lives are on the line, but right now he's the best option I have. Elena checked her watch. 15 minutes until press conference. After that, I need to talk to Devon. Alone. The press conference was a circus. 20 reporters, 30 cameras, questions shouted over each other like gunfire. Elena stood at the podium in her fresh uniform, Captain Park on her left, Base Commander Captain Victoria Cross on her right. Petty Officer Reyes, is it true you're a Navy SEAL? Yes. Why was that classified? Operational security. What kind of operations? I'm not at liberty to discuss that. Are the men who confronted you facing charges? That's under investigation. Did you use excessive force? Elena's eyes hardened. I used exactly the force necessary to defend myself against 5 men who surrounded me, harassed me, and physically assaulted me. No more, no less. Are you concerned about retaliation? I'm concerned about doing my job and serving my country. Everything else is noise. A reporter in the back stood up. Petty Officer Reyes, what do you say to people who claim women aren't strong enough for special operations? Elena leaned into the microphone. I say those people should ask the 5 men from this morning how strong I am. The room erupted, half in laughter, half in shocked gasps. Captain Cross stepped forward. That's all the time we have. Thank you. They escaped backstage, where Elena's phone was buzzing non-stop. Messages, emails, friend requests from people she'd never met. The video had hit 15 million views. You're famous, Park said dryly. I'm exposed. Elena silenced her phone. Where's Devon Washington being held? Medical evaluation, then base detention pending investigation. I need to talk to him. You need to stay away from all 5 of them. Conflict of interest. Any lawyer worth their salt will claim witness tampering. I'm not tampering. I'm recruiting. Park studied her. You're serious? Dead serious. His father was killed by faulty equipment from the same supply chain I've been investigating. He deserves to know. And I need someone inside that trainee unit who can move without suspicion. If this goes sideways, then it goes sideways. But if I don't move now, 3 dead SEALs stay dead without justice, and whoever killed them keeps killing. Elena's voice dropped. How many more, Captain? How many more dead operators before we stop playing it safe? Park was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded. Medical bay. 15 minutes. I'll make sure you have privacy. Elena found Devon sitting on an examination table, his wrist in a brace, though nothing was broken. He looked up when she entered, his eyes widening. Petty Officer Reyes. Just Elena is fine. I'm sorry about this morning. I should have stopped them. You did stop. That counts for something. Elena pulled up a chair, sat down at eye level with him. Devon, I need to ask you something personal, and I need you to be honest with me. His jaw tightened. Okay. Your father, Staff Sergeant Michael Washington. Tell me what you know about how he died. Devon's face went through several emotions at once. Confusion, pain, anger. Why? Because I think his death is connected to something I've been investigating, and I think you deserve to know the truth. The truth is he died in combat. Equipment malfunction. Bad luck. But Devon's voice wavered. That's what they told us. They lied to you. Elena pulled out her tablet, showed him the files Park had sent. Your father's night vision goggles were serviced 48 hours before his deployment. The technician who signed off on them noted minor irregularities, but cleared them for use anyway. Those irregularities got your father killed. Devon stared at the screen, his hands shaking. Who was the technician? That's what I'm trying to find out, but I'm running out of time. Elena leaned forward. Devon, I'm going to tell you something that could get me court-martialed if you repeat it. My real job here isn't supply coordination. I'm investigating a pattern of equipment sabotage that's killed at least 3 Navy SEALs, and possibly your father. Someone on this base has been deliberately compromising special operations equipment and selling it through legitimate supply chains. I've been undercover for 18 months trying to identify them. And this morning, I blew my cover defending myself. Now the person I'm hunting knows I'm here. They know I'm close. And they're going to run unless I stop them in the next 72 hours. Devon's eyes were hard now, focused. What do you need from me? Information. Access. Your trainee unit interfaces with supply depot personnel during equipment training. You see things, hear things that I can't anymore because everyone knows who I am now. I need eyes and ears inside that world. You're asking me to spy? I'm asking you to help me get justice for your father and 3 dead SEALs. Devon was quiet for a long moment. Then, what happens to Brandon and the others, if I help you? That's not up to me. But if you help me catch a murderer, I'll testify that you tried to stop the confrontation, that you showed character when your friends didn't. It might help, it might not, but it's the truth. And if I don't help you? Then I work alone, and the person who killed your father probably gets away with it. Elena stood. Your choice, Devon, but I need an answer now. Devon looked down at his hands, then at the files on her tablet, then back at her face. My father used to say that doing the right thing is usually the hard thing. That's how you know it's right. Smart man. He was. Devon's voice cracked slightly. He was the best man I ever knew. And someone killed him and walked away free. So yeah, I'm in. Tell me what you need. Elena felt something release in her chest. First, I need you to get sent back to your unit. No charges. Medical evaluation shows minor strain. You're cleared for light duty. Can you act shaken up enough that they believe it? After what you did to my friends this morning? I don't have to act. Good. Second, I need you to pay attention during your supply training tomorrow. Who handles the equipment? Who signs off on maintenance? Who has access to storage areas after hours? Any irregularities, any personnel who seem nervous or evasive, I need to know. That's it? That's phase 1. Phase 2 depends on what you find. Elena pulled out a phone, handed it to him. Burner, my number's programmed in. Text only. No calls unless emergency. Assume someone might be monitoring base communications. Devon took the phone, tucked it in his pocket. Elena. Yeah? This morning, when you took down Brandon and the others. That was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Despite everything, Elena smiled. It wasn't supposed to be cool. It was supposed to be invisible. Too late for that now. Way too late. 20 minutes later, Elena was back in the secure conference room with Captain Park and a new face, a woman in civilian clothes with sharp eyes and the bearing of someone who didn't take nonsense from anyone. Special Agent Lisa Chen, NCIS, the woman said, extending a hand. Captain Park briefed me on your situation. I've been reviewing your case files from the past 18 months. Impressive work. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I'm here to tell you that you've been chasing shadows. Chen pulled up a holographic display. NCIS had better tech than regular Navy. Your supply chain irregularities? They're real, but they're not coming from Coronado. Elena's stomach dropped. What? Coronado is a distribution point, not the source. The compromised equipment is being introduced earlier in the supply chain, probably at manufacturer level or during transport from manufacturers to military depots. Chen zoomed in on a map showing supply routes. We've been tracking similar patterns across 3 services: Navy, Army, Air Force. All special operations units. All equipment failures in combat zones. At least 15 confirmed deaths over 3 years. 15? Elena felt sick. My investigation only found 3. Because you were only looking at Navy SEALs. Army Rangers lost 4. Air Force Pararescue lost 3. Marine Raiders lost 5. Chen's voice was grim. Someone is waging a systematic campaign against American Special Operations Forces, and they're using our own supply chain to do it. Park looked like he'd been punched. Why weren't we briefed on this? Because until this morning, we didn't have proof. We had patterns, we had suspicions, but we couldn't prove deliberate sabotage versus incompetence or bad luck. Chen turned to Elena. Then you went viral, and suddenly someone panicked. The phone call, Elena said. Exactly. They reached out to you directly, threatened you. That was a mistake, because now we know they're watching. They're local, and they're scared. Chen pulled up new data. In the last hour, we've detected unusual communications patterns from 3 base personnel, all in supply chain management, all with access to equipment maintenance and distribution, all making preparations to leave base. 3 suspects? Park asked. 3 possibilities. 1 is your mole. The others might be accomplices, or they might just be reacting to the lockdown you ordered. Chen highlighted the names. Master Chief Patricia Donovan, 20-year veteran, Supply Depot Commander. Senior Chief Marcus Oakes, 15 years, Maintenance Supervisor. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Kim, 12 years, Logistics Officer. Elena studied the names, the faces. One of these people had killed her brothers in arms, had killed Devon's father, had killed 15 American warriors and walked free. Donovan, she said quietly. Chen's eyebrow rose. Why Donovan? Because I've interacted with her a dozen times in the past 18 months. She was always helpful. Too helpful. Always volunteering information, offering access to restricted areas, making my cover identity's job easier. Elena's mind was racing now, pieces clicking together. I thought she was just good at her job. But what if she was managing me? Keeping me close to monitor what I was learning, making sure I never got too close to the truth. That's thin, Park said. So is everything else we have. Elena turned to Chen. Can you get me her full service record? Not just the official one, the real one. Personnel evaluations, deployment history, complaint files, everything. Why? Because people who kill for money or ideology don't usually start in their 20th year of service. They start earlier, smaller crimes, building up to bigger ones. There'll be patterns. There always are. Chen typed rapidly. Give me 10 minutes. While they waited, Elena paced. Something was bothering her, something about the phone call. The voice had been distorted, but there'd been background noise, faint. She'd noticed it subconsciously, but not processed it. She pulled out her phone, listened to her recording of the call again. There, behind the distorted voice, a rhythmic sound, mechanical, familiar. HVAC system, she said aloud. Park looked up. What? The phone call, background noise. It's an HVAC system. Old one by the sound of it. Probably original base construction, 1960s era ducting. Elena's pulse quickened. How many buildings on base still have original HVAC? Park pulled up base schematics. 4. Officers' quarters, built 1964. Recreation Center, built 1968. Old Supply Depot, built 1961 but scheduled for demolition next year. And Base Archives, built 1963. Supply Depot, Elena and Chen said simultaneously. Old Supply Depot, Chen clarified. The one being decommissioned. Perfect place for someone to work without being disturbed. Everyone's focused on the new facility. Park was already moving. I'll get security. No, Elena said sharply. Security goes in loud. We need quiet. We need to catch them in the act. You're not going in there alone, Park said. I'm not alone. I have you. Chen stood. And me. I didn't drive 3 hours from San Diego to watch from the sidelines. They moved fast. No lights, no sirens, no chatter on open channels. Just 3 people in dark clothing moving through shadows toward a building that was supposed to be empty. The old supply depot loomed against the night sky, windows dark, doors locked. But Elena's trained eye caught what others might miss. Fresh scratches on the lock. Recent entry. She signaled Park and Chen. They stacked up at the door. Elena picked the lock in 15 seconds, muscle memory from 1,000 training repetitions. Inside, the building smelled of dust and decay. Moonlight filtered through grimy windows, casting everything in shades of gray. Then, Elena heard it. Voices, coming from deep in the building. She moved forward silently, Park and Chen flanking her. They navigated around pallets of old equipment, through corridors lined with empty shelves, following the sound. The voices grew clearer. Have to move tonight. She's too close. A woman's voice, strained, angry. We need more time. The shipment isn't ready. A man, older. We don't have more time. She's going to figure it out. Elena peered around a corner. 2 figures stood in a pool of light from a battery lantern. Master Chief Patricia Donovan and Senior Chief Marcus Oakes. Both of them. Elena's heart sank. She'd expected 1 mole, not 2. Park's hand touched her shoulder, squeezed. He'd seen it too. How much did we get for the last batch? Donovan asked. 200,000. Split between us, that's... I can do math, Marcus. Donovan pulled out a phone. I'm calling our contact. Tell them we're moving up the timeline. They get the next shipment tomorrow, or never. They won't pay premium for rushed delivery. I don't care. That seal bitch is going to burn us if we don't move now. Elena's hands clenched. Every instinct screamed to rush in, to take them down, but Chen held up a hand. Wait. They needed evidence. Recordings. Proof. Donovan made her call. It's me. We have a problem. Need immediate extraction and final payment. Yes, I know it's early. Because we're compromised, that's why. Tomorrow night, usual location. 1 million, same as we agreed. Don't try to negotiate now. We both know you need this more than we do. She hung up, looked at Oakes. Tomorrow night, we deliver the last batch, collect payment, and disappear. What about the equipment we already sabotaged? It's still in the system. Let it be. By the time they trace it back, we'll be gone. New identities, new country, new lives. Donovan smiled, and it was the coldest thing Elena had ever seen. 15 dead Americans and counting. They'll write books about us. And we'll read them on a beach somewhere, drinking cocktails bought with their blood money. That's when Elena stepped into the light. Only book you're going to read is the one they assign you in prison, she said quietly. Donovan and Oakes spun around, eyes wide. Petty Officer Reyes, Donovan said, her hand moving toward her hip. "You're making a mistake."
"The only mistake was yours, when you called me today, when you threatened me, when you got scared."
Elena stepped forward. Park and Chen moved into flanking positions, weapons drawn. Oakes raised his hands immediately. "I surrender. This was all her idea. I was just following orders." "Shut up!" Donovan's hand was on her sidearm now. "Both of you, shut up!"
"Master Chief Donovan," Chen said calmly. "I'm Special Agent Lisa Chen, NCIS. You're under arrest for espionage, murder, and treason. Put your hands on your head. Now." Donovan's eyes darted between them, calculating odds, looking for escape routes. "Don't," Elena said. "I don't want to hurt you, but I will if you make me."
"You already ruined everything," Donovan's voice cracked. 20 years I gave this Navy. 20 years, and they never let me in, never let me prove myself. Too old, they said. Wrong time, wrong gender, wrong everything. So I made them pay. I made them all pay. You made innocent people pay, Elena said. People who never did anything to you. Warriors who died because you were bitter and greedy. I was owed. You were owed nothing. You earned nothing. And now you're going to prison for the rest of your life. Donovan drew her weapon. Elena moved faster. The gunshot never came. Elena's hand closed around Donovan's wrist, twisting hard, forcing the weapon up and away. The older woman was strong, 20 years of military conditioning in every muscle, but Elena had youth and training that went beyond standard Navy combat courses. Drop it, Elena hissed. Donovan kneed her in the ribs instead. Pain exploded through Elena's side, but she held on, using the momentum to spin Donovan around and slam her against a stack of pallets. The gun clattered to the concrete floor. Parks kicked it away, weapon trained on Oakes, who stood frozen, hands still raised. Donovan wasn't done. She drove her elbow back into Elena's face, connecting with her cheek hard enough to make stars explode across her vision. Elena's grip loosened. Donovan broke free, grabbed a metal rod from a nearby shelf, swung it at Elena's head. Elena ducked, felt the wind of the rod pass inches from her skull. Training took over. She moved inside Donovan's guard, delivered 3 quick strikes to pressure points, followed by a sweep that should have taken the older woman down. Should have. Donovan stayed on her feet, countered with a strike that caught Elena in the shoulder. You think you're the only one with advanced training? I was teaching hand-to-hand combat before you were born. They circled each other, both breathing hard now. Chen had her weapon on both of them, but couldn't get a clear shot without risking Elena. Master Chief Donovan, stand down, Chen ordered. Or what? You'll shoot a 20-year veteran? Make her a martyr? Donovan laughed, the sound bitter and broken. They'll crucify you. The first female NCIS agent to shoot a female Navy Master Chief? Think about the optics. I'm thinking about the 15 dead operators, Chen said coldly. That's all the optics I need. Donovan lunged at Elena again. This time, Elena was ready. She caught the metal rod, twisted it from Donovan's hands, threw it aside. Then she did what she'd done to Brandon that morning, used Donovan's own momentum against her. Hip throw, perfectly executed, slamming the Master Chief to the concrete hard enough to knock the wind from her lungs. Elena was on her in a second, knee in her back, pulling Donovan's arms behind her. It's over. It's never over, Donovan gasped. You think we're the only ones? You think this stops with us? Elena's blood went cold. What are you talking about? Cuff her first, Park said, throwing Elena a pair of flex cuffs. Then we'll get answers. Elena secured Donovan's wrists, then helped her sit up against a pallet. The Master Chief's face was bruised, lip bleeding, but her eyes held something worse than pain. They held satisfaction. "You have no idea what you've stumbled into," Donovan said. "This is so much bigger than two bitter sailors selling equipment specs." Chen approached, her weapon still ready.
"Start talking. Maybe we can work out a deal."
"A deal?" Donovan laughed again. "What kind of deal do you offer someone facing 15 counts of murder and treason? Life in prison instead of execution? No thanks. I'll take my chances at trial."
"Then don't talk for a deal,"
Elena said quietly, kneeling in front of Donovan.
"Talk because 15 families deserve to know why their sons, daughters, husbands, wives aren't coming home. Talk because Devin Washington deserves to know why his father died.
Talk because somewhere inside that bitter, twisted person you've become, there's still a sailor who took an oath to protect this country." Donovan's eyes met hers. Something flickered there. Regret? Shame? Then it was gone, replaced by cold calculation. "You want the truth? Fine. I didn't start this. I was recruited. 3 years ago, after my 4th request for SEAL screening was denied, I was angry. I was drinking. I was at a bar in San Diego and someone approached me. Someone who knew everything about me. My career, my failures, my resentments." "Who?" Park demanded. "I never got a name, just a contact number. They offered me money. A lot of money. All I had to do was provide access to equipment maintenance schedules and shipment routes. That's it. I thought they were selling to defense contractors. Black market, but not deadly. I didn't know they were sabotaging the equipment."
"Bullshit,"
Elena said flatly.
"You knew."
"Not at first."
"I swear I didn't know until—"
Donovan stopped, her face going pale.
"Until what?"
Chen pressed.
"Until the first SEAL died, Lieutenant Marcus Reynolds. His parachute didn't deploy during a halo jump in Syria. They shipped his body home in pieces."
Donovan's voice cracked.
"That's when I knew. That's when I tried to stop." "But you didn't stop," Elena said. 14 more people died. "Because they threatened me. They said if I went to authorities, they'd kill my sister. She has 2 kids. She's all the family I have left."
Tears were streaming down Donovan's face now.
"So I kept quiet, kept helping, tried to convince myself I was protecting my family. But the truth is, I was just protecting myself."
Oakes, who'd been silent this whole time, suddenly spoke up. "She's lying about one thing. She knew from the beginning. She recruited me 6 months ago, told me exactly what we were doing. Said it was payback for every woman the military had failed. Every qualified female operator who got denied because of her gender."
"Shut up, Marcus. No, I'm done shutting up. You said this was about justice, about making them pay for systemic discrimination. You said we were warriors taking back what was owed to us."
Oakes looked at Elena, his eyes desperate.
"She showed me statistics. Hundreds of qualified women denied opportunities because of outdated policies. She made it sound righteous, like we were fighting a war nobody else had the courage to fight." "And you believed her?"
Elena couldn't keep the disgust from her voice.
"I wanted to believe her. I wanted to matter. My whole career I've been overlooked, passed over, told I was good enough for support but not leadership. She made me feel like I was finally part of something important." "You were part of murder," Chen said. "Nothing else."
Park's phone buzzed. He checked it, his face going grim. NCIS just flagged something. A wire transfer from an offshore account to Donovan's sister's bank account. $200,000, sent 4 hours ago. Donovan's eyes widened. What? No, that's not possible. They weren't supposed to pay until tomorrow night, after the final delivery. Unless they weren't planning to pay you at all, Elena said slowly, pieces clicking together. Unless they were setting you up. Setting me up for what? Think about it. You get arrested tonight. Evidence shows you've been receiving payments for months. Your sister has $200,000 in her account she can't explain. You look guilty as hell. And when investigators start digging, all the evidence points to you and Oakes as the masterminds. Elena stood, pacing. Meanwhile, the real people running this operation disappear. Clean. Untraceable. Chen was already on her phone. I need a trace on that wire transfer. Source account, routing information, everything. She paused, listening. What do you mean it's bouncing? Through how many countries? Another pause. Damn it. They played you, Park said to Donovan. Used your bitterness and greed, and when you became a liability, they cut you loose. No, that's not. Donovan's face crumpled. They said we were partners, equal shares. You were never partners, Elena said. You were tools, disposable ones. A new sound cut through the warehouse. Footsteps. Running. Everyone froze. Security? Park whispered. At this hour? Chen shook her head. Nobody knows we're here. The footsteps were getting closer. Multiple people, moving fast. Elena's hand went to her sidearm. Park and Chen took defensive positions. Oakes pressed himself against a pallet, trying to disappear. Donovan just sat there, broken. The footsteps stopped just outside the pool of lantern light. Petty Officer Reyes? A familiar voice. Young. Male. Devon? Elena's heart sank. What are you doing here? Devon stepped into the light, and he wasn't alone. Brandon Keller, Marcus Chen, T.J. Rodriguez, and Quan Nguyen stood behind him. All 5 of the trainees from the mess hall confrontation. All in civilian clothes. All looking scared, but determined. We followed you, Devon said. After you gave me the phone, I told the others about my dad, about what you're really investigating. They wanted to help. I told you to wait for instructions, Elena said, fighting to keep her voice calm. I told you to stay out of it. And I told them you were going after the people who killed my father, Devon shot back. Did you really think I was going to sit in my bunk while you risked your life? Brandon stepped forward, his nose still bandaged from the morning's encounter. Look, I know I have no right to be here. I know I treated you like garbage. But Devon explained everything. About the sabotage, about his dad, about the SEALs who died. His voice was rough with emotion. My father's an admiral. He's got connections, resources. If you're going after a major conspiracy, you're going to need someone who can make calls that actually get answered. This isn't your fight, Elena said. It became our fight when we surrounded you this morning, Marcus Chen said quietly. We were wrong. About you. About women in combat. About everything. Let us make it right. By doing what? Playing soldier? You're trainees. You're not ready for this. Neither were you once, TJ said. But someone gave you a chance. Give us one. Elena looked at Park and Agent Chen, silently asking what to do. Park shrugged. We're already breaking about 15 protocols. What's a few more? We're not breaking anything, Chen said firmly. These men are material witnesses to this morning's assault. I can justify their presence as part of my investigation. She turned to the trainees. But you follow orders. My orders. Step out of line once, and I'll have you all in federal custody so fast your heads will spin. Clear? Yes, ma'am, they chorused. Good. Here's what's happening. In approximately, Chen checked her watch, 6 hours, Admiral Richard Keller is going to receive a call from the Secretary of the Navy asking why his son was involved in assaulting a decorated Navy SEAL. That call is going to destroy the Admiral's career, unless we can present him with an alternative narrative. Brandon went pale. What kind of narrative? The kind where his son and 4 other trainees helped break open a major espionage ring, preventing future deaths of American Special Operations personnel. Chen's smile was sharp. Your father gets to be the proud dad of a hero, instead of the embarrassed parent of a criminal. But only if you earn it. What do we need to do? Brandon asked. For starters, tell me how you knew where to find us. Devon pulled out the burner phone Elena had given him. This has a tracker in it, right? For security? Elena blinked. How did you— My dad was Rangers. He taught me about operational security before I could drive. Every piece of equipment has a contingency. I figured a burner phone from a SEAL would have tracking capability. Devon's smile was sad. He'd be proud that I figured it out, that I'm here, that I'm finally getting justice for him. He'd be terrified for you, Elena said gently. Same as I am right now. But yeah, he'd be proud. A phone rang, not one of theirs. The sound came from Donovan's pocket. Everyone stared at her. That's the contact number, Donovan said quietly. They've never called before, only texted. Answer it, Chen ordered. Put it on speaker. Donovan awkwardly pulled the phone from her pocket with her cuffed hands, hit answer, speaker. Change of plans. The voice was distorted, mechanical, the same voice from Elena's threatening call. We know you've been arrested. We know NCIS is involved. We're accelerating the timeline. What timeline? Donovan asked. The equipment you sabotaged over the past 3 months. It's all being deployed tomorrow. 6 different SEAL teams, 3 Ranger units, 2 Marine Raider platoons, simultaneous operations across 4 combat zones. By this time tomorrow night, at least 30 American special operators will be dead. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. The line went dead. The warehouse fell silent. 30 seconds. 60. Nobody moved. Finally, Park spoke. They're bluffing. They have to be bluffing. Are they? Chen was already pulling up data on her tablet. Let me check operational deployments. If there's even a chance. She went pale. Oh my God. What? Elena demanded. Operation Crossfire. Multi-service special operations exercise. Scheduled to begin at 600 tomorrow. SEALs, Rangers, Raiders, all using equipment that was serviced in the past 90 days. Chen looked up, her eyes wide with horror. It's not a bluff. It's a massacre. We call it off, Park said. Alert JSOC. Pull all the equipment. Cancel the op. On what authority? Based on what evidence? A confession from 2 people facing life in prison who might just be trying to delay prosecution? Chen shook her head. By the time we navigate the chain of command, verify the sabotage, and convince someone with stars on their collar to cancel a major training exercise, it'll be too late. Then we don't go through channels, Elena said. We go to the equipment directly. Find it. Test it. Prove it's compromised. In 6 hours? Oakes spoke up, his voice small. Impossible. The equipment is distributed across 3 bases, hundreds of pieces. You'd need a team of 50 technicians working around the clock. Or we need to know exactly which pieces are sabotaged, Elena said, turning to Donovan. You kept records, didn't you? You're too meticulous not to. Where are they? Donovan was quiet for a long moment. The calculation in her eyes was almost visible. Finally, she spoke. There's a USB drive, hidden in my office, behind the photo of my sister and her kids. It has everything. Serial numbers, sabotage methods, deployment schedules. If you're lying, Chen started. I'm not lying. I kept records because I knew eventually this would blow up. I wanted insurance.
Proof that I wasn't the only one responsible, that I was following orders from someone else.
But you don't know who that someone else is, Park said.
No, but the drive has our communications, payment records. Maybe NCIS can trace them better than I could.
Chen looked at Elena. Can you get to her office without being seen?
In 6 hours, half the base will be awake and moving. But yeah, I can get there.
Not alone you can't, Devon said. You need backup, someone to watch your six.
Absolutely not.
He's right, Brandon interrupted. You can't be in two places at once. While you're getting the drive, someone needs to be tracking down the equipment, running preliminary checks, buying us time.
And who's going to do that? Elena demanded. You five have zero clearance for spec ops equipment.
No, Brandon said slowly, pulling out his phone. But my father does, and so do the people he commands.
You can't tell your father about this. Not yet. The chain of command.
I'm not going to tell him about the conspiracy. I'm going to tell him his son made a terrible mistake this morning, and I'm trying to make it right by helping verify equipment safety for tomorrow's operation. That I want to prove I'm worthy of the uniform. He'll believe that. He'll want to believe that. Brandon's jaw was tight. My father and I have a complicated relationship, but he loves the Navy more than he loves me. If there's even a chance something could harm the teams, he'll move heaven and earth to prevent it. Elena studied Brandon's face, saw the pain there, the complicated grief of a son seeking approval from a father who gave it conditionally. If you do this, you can't go back. Once your father knows you helped, once this story breaks, your life changes forever.
It already changed. This morning, when I put my hands on you and you taught me exactly how wrong I was about everything.
Brandon's voice was steady. I can spend the rest of my life being the admiral's son who assaulted a female SEAL, or I can be the sailor who helped save 30 lives. I know which one my dad raised me to be, even if I forgot for a while. Quan stepped forward. My family came to America for opportunity, for freedom. My father said the military was how we pay back the country that took us in. If I can help save American lives, that's the payment. That's the honor. TJ cracked his knuckles, a nervous habit. I talk too much, I know that. But I also know equipment. Grew up in my uncle's garage fixing everything with an engine. Give me a radio or a regulator, I can tell you if it's been tampered with. Marcus was the last to speak. I spent this morning learning that my assumptions about people were garbage. Spent this afternoon learning that brave people come in all sizes and genders. I'd like to spend tonight proving I learned something. Elena looked at Park and Chen. Park nodded slowly. Chen looked like she wanted to argue but couldn't find the words.
Okay,
Elena said finally.
Here's how this works. Brandon, you call your father. Tell him exactly what you said. You want to help with equipment verification for tomorrow's op. You don't mention conspiracy, sabotage, or anything classified. Just safety checks. Can you do that?
Yes.
Devon, Quan, Marcus, TJ, you go with Brandon. When his father gives you access, you focus on the equipment types Donovan specified. Radios, breathing apparatus, parachute systems. You look for irregularities. Anything that doesn't match factory specs.
You find something, you photograph it, you report it to Chen's people, and you move on to the next piece. You do not try to fix anything. You do not confront anyone. You are observers only. Clear?
Clear,
they responded. Agent Chen, you take Donovan and Oakes into custody. Process them, get that USB drive, and start tracing the money and communications. I need to know who's running this operation by sunrise.
And you?
Chen asked. I'm going hunting. Elena checked her own weapon, her face grim.
Someone made a phone call from this base tonight. Someone with sophisticated voice distortion equipment. Someone who knew we'd be here. Which means someone's been watching us. I'm going to find them.
Elena, if you're wrong, if the person behind this isn't on base,
then 30 people die tomorrow, and we spend the rest of our lives knowing we could have stopped it.
Elena met each person's eyes in turn.
I've been hunting this conspiracy for 18 months.
I'm not stopping with 6 hours left on the clock. Park stepped forward. I'll go with you. No, you need to coordinate with Chen. Make sure those 5 trainees don't get themselves killed trying to play hero. Elena's smile was tight.
Besides, I work better alone.
You worked alone for 18 months and didn't crack this, Park pointed out. Maybe it's time to trust the team. Elena wanted to argue. Every instinct trained into her during SEAL selection screamed that solo operations were cleaner, simpler, safer. But those same instincts had failed to identify Donovan and Oakes, had failed to see the larger conspiracy, had failed to protect 15 lives. Maybe trust wasn't weakness. Maybe it was the weapon she'd been missing all along.
Fine, she said. But we move fast and we move quiet. No heroics, no last stands. We gather intelligence and we get out. Agreed?
Agreed. As they prepared to split up, Devon approached Elena one more time. Can I ask you something? Make it quick. This morning, when you took us down, you could have hurt us a lot worse than you did. Why didn't you? Elena thought about her answer.
Because hurting you wouldn't have taught you anything. You needed to learn that strength isn't about size or gender. It's about skill, training, and character. Break your bones, you remember pain. Humble your pride, you remember the lesson.
I'll remember, Devon said quietly.
All of us will. Good. Now go save some lives.
They moved out in different directions, 5 groups with 5 different missions, racing against a 6-hour countdown. Elena and Park headed for the communications building where sophisticated equipment would be necessary for the voice distortion used in the phone calls. The base was waking up, early risers heading to PT, kitchen staff preparing breakfast, security making rounds. Elena and Park moved between buildings like ghosts, using shadows and timing to avoid being seen. You know this is crazy, right? Park said as they crouched behind a dumpster waiting for a patrol to pass. We're breaking so many regulations I've lost count.
Rather break regulations than bury more operators.
Fair point. They reached the communications building. The door was locked, but Park had a master access key. Inside, rows of equipment hummed and blinked in the darkness. What are we looking for? Park whispered. Voice distortion equipment, military grade. It'll be separate from standard comm gear. Elena moved down the rows, her eyes scanning each piece of equipment.
It'll also have been used recently. Look for anything that's warm, anything with active power that shouldn't be.
She stopped, stared at a terminal in the corner. It was on, screen glowing softly in the darkness. Nobody else in the building. Someone had been here, recently. Elena approached carefully. The screen showed a messaging app, encrypted. The last message sent 12 minutes ago. They found Donovan. Accelerating timeline, deploying failsafe.
Park,
Elena said quietly.
We have a problem.
He joined her at the terminal, read the message. Failsafe? What failsafe? Before Elena could answer, the building's lights blazed to life. Fluorescent panels humming, blinding after the darkness. A voice came from the doorway, familiar, female, exhausted.
I really hoped you wouldn't figure it out in time.
Elena spun around, weapon drawn. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Kim stood in the doorway,
Her own sidearm pointed directly at Elena's chest. "Ma'am?" Park's voice was confused. "What's going on?" "What's going on, Captain, is that you and Petty Officer Reyes have just stumbled into something you should have stayed far away from." Kim's voice was sad but steady. "I gave her every opportunity to stop digging, every chance to accept her cover story and move on. But she couldn't let it go." "You're the third suspect," Elena said, everything clicking into place.
Donovan and Oakes were the saboteurs. But you're the handler. You recruited them. You managed them. You sold the intelligence. I provided the opportunity, Kim corrected. They made their own choices. Why? The question burst from Elena's chest. Why betray everything you swore to protect? Kim's laugh was bitter. Protect? I've spent 12 years protecting a system that uses people as tools and discards them when they break. Do you know how many operators I've watched come back destroyed? Bodies broken, minds shattered, families ruined? And for what? So politicians can claim they're tough on terrorism? So defense contractors can sell more weapons? Don't tell me that's not how it works. I've seen it. I've processed the casualty reports, the medical discharges, the suicide statistics. Kim's voice rose, emotional control cracking. The military eats its own people and calls it service. I decided to make them pay. Literally. By killing the people you were supposed to support? Elena's voice was cold. 15 operators dead. 30 more tomorrow. How is that justice? It's consequence. It's accountability. It's making the system face what it creates. Kim's weapon never wavered. And yes, before you ask, I do feel guilty. Every single day. Every single death. But I feel more guilty about the hundreds who died before I started this. The thousands who'll die after. At least my actions mean something. At least they force people to pay attention. They'll pay attention to you in federal prison, Park said. Maybe. But by tomorrow night, after 30 more operators die using sabotaged equipment, there'll be hearings, investigations. Someone will finally ask why we keep losing people to preventable equipment failures. Someone will finally demand accountability. Kim smiled sadly. I'll go to prison, maybe even face execution. But I'll have forced the change that needs to happen. You're insane, Elena breathed. No. I'm just tired of watching good people die for bad reasons. Kim gestured with her weapon. Now, both of you. Weapons on the ground. Slowly. Elena calculated odds, distance between them, cover options. Could she draw and fire before Kim did? Maybe. But Park was exposed. If she moved, he died. She set her weapon down. Park did the same. Smart, Kim said. Now we're going to walk out of here together. You're going to smile and wave at anyone who sees us. We're just 3 officers doing early morning rounds. Try to signal for help, try to run, and I'll shoot you both. I've come too far to stop now. They walked out into the pre-dawn darkness, Kim behind them, weapon concealed but pressed against Elena's back. The base was more active now, people everywhere. Any one of them could be help, none of them knowing what was happening. Where are we going? Park asked. Somewhere we can talk without interruption. Somewhere I can figure out what to do with you. Kim's voice was almost apologetic. I didn't want to hurt anyone directly. That's why I used Donovan and Oakes. That's why I kept myself removed. But you forced my hand. They reached a maintenance building. Kim unlocked it, pushed them inside. Small space, no windows, tools on the walls. A single bare bulb for light. Sit, Kim ordered. They sat. Elena's mind was racing.
Devon and the others were checking equipment. Chen was processing Donovan. Nobody knew Kim was the real threat. Nobody was coming to help. She had to buy time, had to keep Kim talking, had to find a way out. "How did you do it?" Elena asked. "How did you cover your tracks for 3 years?" Kim actually smiled. "You want the professional details? The operational security that let me run this right under everyone's noses? I want to understand."
Why, so you can write it in your report? So they can plug the holes I found? Because I think you're right, Elena said quietly. Not about the killing, never about that. But about the system being broken. About good people getting chewed up and spit out. I've seen it too. I've buried friends who should still be alive. Kim studied her for a long moment. You're trying to manipulate me. I'm trying to have a conversation between two people who both gave everything to serve their country and got betrayed by the people running it. We're not the same. No, Elena agreed. I'm still fighting to fix the system from inside. You gave up. Kim's face hardened. I didn't give up. I evolved. I realized that real change requires real stakes. Body bags create policy changes faster than any report or testimony. And tomorrow? 30 more body bags? What policy does that create? Accountability. Finally, someone with stars on their collar will have to answer for why this keeps happening, why equipment keeps failing, why warriors keep dying. Kim checked her watch. 5 hours until deployment. Even if you somehow escaped right now, you couldn't stop it. The equipment is distributed. The operations are locked in. It's over. It's not over until it's over, Park said. I've been in the Navy long enough to know that. Inspiring, Captain, but ultimately futile. Kim pulled out her phone. I'm going to make a call now to the people paying me. They're going to extract me from this base within the hour. By the time anyone finds you two, I'll be out of the country. You won't make it, Elena said. Agent Chen locked down the base. Nobody leaves. Agent Chen locked down official exits. She didn't lock down the ways I've been moving contraband off this base for 3 years. There are holes in every perimeter if you know where to look. Kim dialed, waited, frowned, dialed again. No answer. That's strange, she muttered. Tried a third time. Still nothing. Maybe your partners figured out they don't need you anymore, Elena suggested. Maybe they're cutting their losses same as they did with Donovan. Shut up. Think about it. You've been exposed. You're now a liability. Why would they extract you when they could just let you take the fall for everything? Kim's hand was shaking slightly. They need me. I'm the only one who knows the full scope of the operation. Which is exactly why they'd want you silenced. Elena leaned forward. You thought you were the handler, but maybe you were just another tool, same as Donovan, same as Oakes. I said shut up! The lights went out. All of them. The entire building. Plunged into darkness. Kim's weapon fired, the muzzle flash blinding in the sudden blackness, but she was aiming at where Elena had been sitting. Elena wasn't there anymore. She'd moved the instant the lights died, training taking over, finding Park in the darkness, pulling him toward the sound of Kim's breathing. Another shot. This one closer. Kim was firing blind, panicking. Elena's hand found a wrench on the wall. She threw it hard toward the opposite corner. It clanged off metal. Kim spun, fired 3 times at the sound. Elena closed the distance, hit Kim low and hard, a perfect tackle. They went down together, Kim's weapon skittering away across the concrete floor. The emergency lights kicked on, bathing everything in red. Elena was on top of Kim, fist drawn back. Kim's nose was bleeding, eyes wide with fear. Go ahead, Kim gasped.
Do it. Prove you're just like me. Prove violence is the only answer you have.
Elena's fist trembled. Every instinct screamed to end this, to make Kim pay, to deliver justice with her own hands. Instead, she grabbed flex cuffs from her belt, secured Kim's wrists.
I'm nothing like you, Elena said quietly.
Because I still believe in the system, in courts, in justice, not revenge. Park recovered Kim's weapon, checked her for other weapons. Who cut the power? I did, said a voice from the doorway. Devon stood there, breaker switch in his hand, phone in the other. You left your tracker on, remember? When you didn't check in, I got worried. Came looking. He looked at Kim on the floor, comprehension dawning.
She was the mole? One of them, Elena said tiredly. But not the last.
What do you mean?
Kim said she was getting extracted by the people paying her. Which means there are more players in this game, bigger players. And we still have, she checked her watch, 4 hours and 53 minutes to find them.
Agent Chen arrived 12 minutes later with a full NCIS team, and she looked like she hadn't slept in days.
3 conspirators in one night. You're either the best investigator I've ever met or the luckiest.
Neither, Elena said, watching Kim get loaded into a secure transport vehicle.
I'm just the one who refused to quit.
Chen pulled Elena aside while Park briefed the NCIS agents.
We got the USB drive from Donovan's office. You need to see this.
She pulled up encrypted files on her tablet. Serial numbers, dates, equipment types. But there was more. Communications logs, payment records, and something else that made Elena's blood run cold.
Those are target lists, she said quietly. Not random sabotage. They were selecting specific operators.
I know. Chen scrolled through names. 15 dead operators, all highlighted in red. But there were more names in yellow. Pending targets, 30 names, all scheduled for Operation Crossfire.
They weren't just killing operators. They were choosing who died.
Elena's voice was hollow.
Why these specific people?
Look at the annotations. Chen zoomed in. Each name had notes.
Testified against defense contractor misconduct.
Reported superior for ethics violations. Requested investigation into equipment fraud. Whistleblower in procurement scandal.
They're killing people who asked questions, Elena breathed. People who threatened the system, the money, the corruption.
It's bigger than military sabotage, Chen said. This is about protecting a network. Defense contractors, procurement officers, maybe even politicians. Anyone who threatened to expose them got marked for death disguised as combat casualty. Elena's mind was reeling.
How deep does this go?
Deep enough that Kim thought she was working for foreign intelligence. But the payment routing Chen's people traced? It's coming from American accounts. Shell corporations registered in Delaware and Nevada. Defense industry money.
Americans killing American operators to protect profit margins.
Elena felt sick.
Who else knows about this?
As of 10 minutes ago, you, me, Park, and the NCIS director. We're keeping this compartmentalized until we know who we can trust. Chen checked her watch.
4 hours, 41 minutes. Your trainee friends found something.
They drove to the equipment depot, where Brandon had somehow convinced his father to grant emergency access. Admiral Richard Keller stood in the middle of organized chaos, his face carved from stone as TJ and Marcus methodically examined radio equipment under portable lights. Petty Officer Reyes, the Admiral said coldly, "You're the one who assaulted my son."
Sir, I defended myself when your son and 4 others surrounded and physically grabbed me.
Elena's voice was respectful but firm.
The security footage and witness statements confirm that. And now my son tells me he's helping you investigate potential equipment sabotage that could kill 30 operators in, he checked his watch, 4 hours and 38 minutes. This had better not be some elaborate scheme to avoid court-martial. Dad.
Brandon stepped between them, his voice quiet but steady. I was wrong. About her. About everything. But she's right about this. We've found 12 pieces of compromised equipment in the past 3 hours. 12 pieces that would have failed catastrophically during tomorrow's operation. The Admiral's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Show me. TJ held up a tactical radio, its casing removed to reveal the internal circuitry. See this resistor? Factory spec calls for 1.5 ohms. This one's 0.7. Cuts transmission range by 60%. In combat conditions, that means no comms, no backup, no extraction. Could be manufacturing defect, the Admiral said. Could be, except we found the same defect in 7 other radios, all from different production batches, all serviced through Coronado Depot in the past 90 days. Marcus pulled up data on his laptop. Statistical probability of that being coincidence? Less than 0.01%. Quan approached, carrying a parachute pack, his hands steady despite obvious exhaustion. This deployment system, sir. The release mechanism has been filed down 0.3 millimeters. Not enough to see without magnification. Enough to fail under stress at altitude. The jumper wouldn't know until they pulled the ripcord, and nothing happened. How many of those have you found? Chen asked. 4 parachutes, 3 rebreathers with compromised oxygen regulators, 2 climbing harnesses with weakened stress points. Quan's accent was thicker with fatigue. Each one designed to kill. Each one designed to look like accident or equipment age. The Admiral walked through the equipment, his face growing darker with each piece TJ and Marcus showed him. Finally, he turned to Elena. If this is real, if someone is deliberately sabotaging equipment to kill our operators, why hasn't this been reported through proper channels? Because the people running it control those channels, sir, Elena said. We've arrested 3 conspirators tonight. But the evidence suggests they're working for people inside the defense contracting system, maybe inside the military itself. People with enough power to bury investigations and eliminate threats. That's a serious accusation, Petty Officer. I have 15 dead operators who can't defend themselves, sir. I'm making the accusation on their behalf. The Admiral stared at her for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone. I'm calling the Secretary of the Navy and JSOC. This operation gets delayed until every piece of equipment is verified. Sir, that could take days, Park said. The political blowback. I don't give a damn about political blowback. The Admiral's voice could have cut steel. If there's even a 1% chance that 30 operators die tomorrow because we were too worried about optics to delay an exercise, then we delay the exercise. Is that clear? Crystal clear, sir, Park said. The Admiral walked away, already dialing. Brandon watched him go, something like wonder on his face. I've never seen him override procedure before, he said quietly. Never seen him put people before policy. Maybe you didn't give him the chance, Devon said. Maybe he's been waiting for someone to show him it matters. Brandon's jaw tightened. I spent my whole life thinking he only cared about the Navy, about regulations and chain of command. Maybe I was wrong about him, too. Or maybe people are complicated, Elena said. Maybe they're both things at once. Maybe your father is a rigid officer who follows rules, and also a man who'll burn his own career to save lives. People aren't just one thing. Brandon looked at her. Like how you're both the supply coordinator who ate breakfast alone, And the SEAL who took down 5 guys in 45 seconds? Exactly like that. Chen's phone buzzed. She checked it, went pale.
We have a problem. The people who were supposed to extract Kim, they just made another move.
What kind of move? Park demanded.
The kind where they blow up the NCIS transport vehicle holding Kim and execute the 4 agents guarding her.
Chen's voice was shaking with rage.
They killed 4 of my people to silence her. This just became federal.
Elena's heart sank.
When? 18 minutes ago. Highway 78, 3 miles from base. Explosive device under the transport. No survivors.
The warehouse fell silent. 4 more deaths. 4 more people killed to protect this conspiracy.
They're cleaning house, Park said. Donovan and Oakes are next. They're in secure holding, underground facility, no windows, no outside access. Chen stopped.
Unless someone inside gives them access. They ran, all of them. Admiral Keller shouted something about maintaining security, but Elena didn't hear it. She was already moving, Park and Chen beside her, the 5 trainees following close behind. The secure holding facility was 10 minutes away by vehicle. They made it in 6, Chen's federal credentials getting them through 3 security checkpoints at speeds that would have gotten anyone else arrested. The facility looked normal. Guards at their posts, lights on, everything procedural and calm. Too calm.
Something's wrong,
Elena said, her hand going to her weapon.
Where's the watch commander?
The guard at the desk looked up, confused. Ma'am? Commander Phillips is in his office.
Get him, now!
Elena's voice had the snap of command that came from years of leading people in life or death situations.
And evacuate this facility. Everyone out, right now.
Ma'am, I can't just... Chen pulled her badge.
Federal agent.
Evacuate now or I'll have you arrested for obstruction. The guard hit the alarm. Sirens wailed. Personnel started flowing out of the building, confused but compliant. What are we looking for? Park asked. I don't know yet, but they blew up a transport vehicle to kill Kim. If they want Donovan and Oakes dead too... Elena stopped.
They'd need inside access to this facility. Someone with command authority. Someone who could override security.
The watch commander, Devon said. You asked where he was. They moved deeper into the facility while everyone else evacuated. Down corridors, through security doors, to the holding cells where Donovan and Oakes were supposed to be secured. The cells were empty.
No,
Chen breathed.
No, no, no. Where are the bodies?
Elena asked.
If they executed them, where's the blood?
Maybe they took them, Marcus suggested. Extracted them like they were going to extract Kim?
Why? Kim had operational knowledge worth protecting.
Donovan and Oakes are just soldiers who followed orders. Elena walked through the empty cell, her mind working.
Unless they know something we don't. Unless there's information we haven't extracted yet.
Park found it first. A note, handwritten, left on the cell bunk. He read it aloud. By the time you find this, we'll be gone. Commander Phillips helped us in exchange for his family's safety. They threatened his wife and daughter. He had no choice. We had no choice. None of us ever had a choice. The people running this are everywhere. They control everything. You can't stop them. You can only run. We chose to run. Patricia Donovan.
Phillips helped them escape,
Chen said.
Where is he?
They found Commander Phillips in his office. He'd used his service weapon. Single shot. No note beyond what Donovan had left. TJ turned away, his face green. Quan crossed himself, whispering a prayer.
They killed him even after he cooperated,
Brandon said, his voice hollow. They threatened his family, forced him to help, then killed him anyway.
To close another loose end,
Elena said. And to send a message. Cooperate and die. Resist and die. There's no winning against them. Except we are winning, Chen said fiercely. We stopped Operation Crossfire. We identified the sabotaged equipment. We arrested 3 conspirators, even if 2 escaped. We're closing in. Are we? Elena pulled up the files on her phone. The target list, the payment records. Kim said she was working for foreign intelligence, but the money's American. Donovan said she was recruited by someone who knew everything about her. That takes intelligence resources, background checks, psychological profiles. CIA? Park suggested. NSA? Or someone with access to military personnel files and the budget to recruit insiders. Elena's eyes widened. Defense contractors. They bid for equipment contracts worth billions.
If they could guarantee that cheaper, inferior equipment gets approved because anyone who questions it dies mysteriously in combat,
they'd make a fortune, Chen finished. And they'd have the resources to run an operation this sophisticated. Money for bribes, access to personnel records, connections to protect themselves. Devon's phone rang. He answered, listened, his face going white. That was base security. Admiral Keller just collapsed. They're saying it's a heart attack, but it's not, Elena said grimly. It's another message. He made calls to delay Operation Crossfire. He challenged them. Now he pays. Brandon was already running. The others followed, racing back to the equipment depot where the Admiral had been making his calls. They found him on the ground, medics working frantically. His face was blue-gray, lips tinged with cyanide blue. Classic poisoning symptoms. Dad! Brandon dropped to his knees beside him. Dad, stay with me. The Admiral's eyes found his son's face. His lips moved. Brandon leaned close. Proud of you, the Admiral whispered. Finally, doing right thing. Then his eyes closed. No! Brandon started chest compressions, tears streaming down his face. Don't you die on me. Not now. Not when I finally... The medics pulled him back gently. Son, he's gone. I'm sorry. Brandon collapsed, his sobs breaking through the night air. Quan put a hand on his shoulder. Marcus stood frozen, unable to process what he was witnessing. TJ wiped his eyes roughly, trying to hide his own tears. Devon just stared, his face carved from stone. Elena felt rage building in her chest, pure, white-hot rage. They'd killed a flag officer, in broad daylight, on a military base, because he dared to delay an operation to save lives. How, she demanded of the medics. How was he poisoned? We don't know yet. Could be his coffee, his food, could be contact poison on something he touched. The lead medic looked shaken. We'll need a full autopsy to determine his phone, Park said quietly. The calls he made. They knew he was calling JSOC, calling the Secretary of the Navy. They had to stop him before those calls bore fruit. Chen was already on her own phone, her voice clipped and professional despite the chaos. I need a hazmat team at Naval Amphibious Base Coronado. Admiral Richard Keller has been poisoned. Treat everything he touched in the past hour as contaminated. And I need the FBI. This just became a federal murder investigation of a flag officer. Elena knelt beside Brandon, put a hand on his back. He was shaking, his whole body racked with grief. He died doing the right thing, she said quietly. He died being the father you always needed him to be. It's not enough, Brandon choked out. It's not enough that he finally showed up when it mattered. He should have. We should have. He couldn't finish. I know.
Elena's voice was gentle but firm.
But you can honor him by finishing what he started, by making sure those 30 operators don't die tomorrow, by exposing the people who killed him.
Brandon looked up at her, his eyes red and streaming. How? They killed a fucking admiral on a secure military base. They're untouchable.
Nobody's untouchable.
Elena stood, pulling Brandon to his feet.
Your father made calls before they killed him. Those calls went through. Someone at JSOC heard him. Someone at the secretary's office took notes. The information is out there. We just need to make sure it doesn't get buried.
The equipment, Devon said suddenly. All the compromised pieces we found. That's physical evidence they can't make disappear. That's proof. They'll claim it's manufacturing defects, Marcus said. Coincidence, bad quality control. Not if we trace it back to the source, TJ said, his voice stronger now. I've been logging serial numbers.
Every piece of compromised equipment. They all route through 3 manufacturers, 3 companies that all won contracts in the past 4 years. 3 companies that all have the same majority shareholder.
Who?
Chen demanded. TJ pulled up his laptop, showed them the corporate filing documents he'd found. Redstone Defense Solutions, holding company registered in Delaware, owns 47 subsidiaries, including the 3 manufacturers supplying compromised equipment. Who owns Redstone? Park asked. TJ clicked through more documents. That's where it gets complicated. Multiple shell corporations, offshore holdings. But if you follow the paper trail far enough, he pulled up a final document, a signature on incorporation papers from 8 years ago. The name made Elena's breath catch. Richard Keller. Brandon stared at his father's name. No, that's not possible. My father would never. Look at the date, Elena said softly. 8 years ago. Before any of this started.
Before the sabotage. Before the deaths.
Someone used his name, Chen said, studying the documents. Forged his signature. Created a paper trail that would lead back to him if anyone investigated.
They set him up, Devon said. Years in advance. Built a conspiracy and put his name on it, so if it ever got exposed, he'd take the fall.
And when he tried to delay Operation Crossfire, when he threatened their plan,
Marcus couldn't finish.
They activated the frame, Elena finished. They killed him. And when investigators start digging, they'll find his name on these documents. They'll think he was running the whole operation, that he killed himself out of guilt. Case closed. Brandon's grief transformed into something harder, something colder. They murdered my father, and they're going to destroy his reputation, make him look like a traitor. Not if we expose them first, Elena said. We have 3 hours and 47 minutes until Operation Crossfire begins.
We have evidence of sabotage. We have testimony from 3 arrested conspirators. We have your father's calls to JSOC and the secretary's office. We have documentation showing someone framed him. That's enough to force an investigation. Maybe enough to stop this completely.
Maybe isn't good enough, Brandon said. Not when they've already killed 20 people. Not when they murdered my father.
Then we make it good enough. Elena turned to Chen. Can you get us a direct line to the JSOC commander? Elena looked at the 5 trainees. You 5 are about to become the most famous whistleblowers in military history, and you're going to do it on live television.
What?
Quan blinked.
How? Remember those viral videos from the mess hall? 15 million views in 12 hours? The media is desperate for more content about me, about all of us.
Elena pulled out her phone. We call a press conference, right now. We bring every piece of compromised equipment. We show the evidence. We name names.
We make this so public that they can't bury it.
That's career suicide, Park said. For all of us. Releasing classified information, bypassing chain of command, conducting unauthorized investigations.
My father just died trying to do the right thing through proper channels, Brandon said, his voice like iron. Proper channels got him killed. I'm done with proper.
Me too, Devon said. And me, Marcus added. TJ and Kwan nodded. Chen looked at Park. Park looked at Elena. Elena looked at all of them.
We do this? There's no going back, she said. Our careers are over. Maybe our freedom. But 30 people live. And maybe we stop this before anyone else dies.
I'm in, Chen said. Damn it, Park muttered. I'm too old for this. But I'm in too. Elena started making calls, first to the base public affairs office using the Admiral's credentials that hadn't been revoked yet, then to the media outlets that had been hounding her for interviews since the mess hall video went viral.
This is Petty Officer Elena Reyes. Yes, the seal from the video. I'm prepared to give you an exclusive interview about what really happened this morning, and about a military conspiracy that's killed 20 American service members. But it has to be live, no editing, no delays, and it has to be in the next 60 minutes.
Every major network said yes. They set up in the equipment depot, surrounded by the compromised gear that should have killed 30 operators. TV crews arrived, cameras went live, satellites beamed their signal across the world. Elena stood in front of the cameras, flanked by the 5 trainees, with Park and Chen in the background. The compromised equipment was arranged behind them. Evidence undeniable. Good morning, Elena said to the camera. My name is Petty Officer Elena Reyes, Navy SEAL. Yesterday morning, I defended myself against 5 men who surrounded and assaulted me in a mess hall. That video went viral. But what you didn't see is what came after. What you didn't see is the investigation I've been running for 18 months. What you didn't see is the conspiracy that's killed 20 American Special Operations personnel and nearly killed 30 more this morning. She held up the first piece of evidence, the radio TJ had examined. This tactical radio was sabotaged to fail during combat operations. So was this parachute, this rebreather, this climbing harness. 37 pieces of equipment total, all scheduled to be used in Operation Crossfire, beginning in 3 hours. 37 chances for American warriors to die. 37 murders disguised as equipment failures. Brandon stepped forward, his voice steady despite the grief etched on his face. My father, Admiral Richard Keller, was murdered 4 hours ago because he tried to delay that operation, because he put lives before politics, because he dared to ask questions. His death was designed to look like suicide, to make it seem like he was guilty of the very conspiracy he died trying to expose. Devon took over, his voice strong and clear. My father, Staff Sergeant Michael Washington, died 7 years ago in what was called an equipment malfunction. But it wasn't a malfunction. It was murder. His night vision goggles were sabotaged by the same network that sabotaged this equipment. He died so that defense contractors could make more money on cheaper gear. One by one, they laid out the evidence, the serial numbers, the manufacturers, the corporate shell games, the paper trail leading to Redstone Defense Solutions. Chen stepped forward with her NCIS credentials. I am Special Agent Lisa Chen. I can confirm that an active federal investigation has identified a network of defense contractors, corrupt military personnel, and foreign intelligence operatives working together to sabotage U.S. Special Operations equipment. We have arrested 3 conspirators. We have identified 37 pieces of compromised equipment, and we have evidence linking this conspiracy to at least 20 deaths of American service members. The camera lights were blinding.
Elena could see producers in the background frantically making calls. This was huge. This was historic. This was everything the conspirators had tried to prevent. And it was live, uncensored, unstoppable. The people behind this thought they could operate in shadows, Elena said. They thought that killing investigators and whistleblowers would keep their secrets safe. They were wrong. As of this moment, their conspiracy is public. Their names are known. Their methods are exposed.
And every law enforcement agency in America is coming for them. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You just signed your death warrant.
Elena held up her phone to the camera, showed the text. They're watching this right now. They're threatening me. They're probably planning how to silence all of us. But here's what they don't understand. You can't silence the truth once it's out there. You can't kill an idea. And the idea that American warriors deserve better than to be murdered for profit? That idea is going to outlive all of us. The broadcast went on for 47 minutes. By the time they finished, Operation Crossfire had been officially canceled. JSOC had ordered a complete equipment audit across all special operations units. The FBI had opened investigations into Redstone Defense Solutions and its subsidiaries. The Department of Defense Inspector General had launched a probe into procurement fraud.
And Elena Reyes, Brandon Keller, Devin Washington, Marcus Chen, T.J. Rodriguez, and Quan Nguyen had become the most famous whistleblowers in modern military history. They stood together in the depot after the cameras shut off, exhausted, terrified, and strangely proud. We did it, Marcus said quietly. We actually did it. We stopped them from killing 30 people, Devin corrected. But we didn't catch everyone. Donovan and Oakes escaped. The people funding this are still out there. Not for long, Chen said, checking her phone. FBI just raided Redstone's headquarters. They're making arrests as we speak. Brandon sat down heavily on a crate of compromised equipment. My father's name is going to be tied to this forever. Even when we prove he was framed, there will always be people who doubt, who wonder if he was involved. Then we make sure the truth is louder than the lies, Elena said. We tell his story. The admiral who died protecting his people. The father who finally chose honor over politics. That's the legacy we build for him. Park approached, looking older than he had 12 hours ago. You know we're all facing courts-martial, right? Unauthorized disclosures, bypassing chain of command, conducting unsanctioned investigations. The JAG is going to have a field day. Let them, Elena said. We saved 30 lives. We exposed a multi-billion-dollar conspiracy. We stopped a network of murderers. If that's worth a court-martial, I'll take it. Me too, the 5 trainees said in unison. Chen's phone rang. She answered, listened, her expression transforming from exhaustion to shock. You're sure? You verified it? Okay, I'll tell them. She hung up, looked at the group. That was the NCIS director. The raid on Redstone Defense Solutions just turned up something big. Personnel files on over 200 military officers and enlisted personnel marked as potential recruits or threats. Your father's name was on that list, Brandon. Marked as a threat because he'd been asking questions about procurement irregularities for the past 3 years. He knew, Brandon whispered. He knew something was wrong. He was investigating. Which is why they set him up, why they framed him, why they killed him. Chen pulled up more data. But here's the important part. Those personnel files, they have communications logs, emails, phone records, evidence of who inside the military was helping them.
And one of those names is very, very interesting. She showed them the screen. Elena's blood turned to ice as she read the name at the top of the list. Captain James Park. Everyone turned to stare at Park, hands moving toward weapons. Park raised his hands slowly, his face calm. I can explain. I've been working undercover for the Department of Defense Inspector General for 2 years, Park said, his voice steady despite 5 weapons now pointed at his chest.
Elena, you can verify that with the encrypted number I gave you 18 months ago, the one you used to report your blown cover.
Elena's mind raced back. The phone call, the immediate authorization to reveal her SEAL status, the speed of the response. You vetted me before I even arrived at Coronado. I recruited you. Park slowly reached into his jacket, pulled out a different set of credentials. Defense Criminal Investigative Service, Senior Special Agent. Your undercover mission? That was my operation. I needed someone inside the supply chain who could move undetected, someone with SEAL training who could handle themselves if things went wrong. Why didn't you tell me? Elena's weapon didn't lower, but her finger relaxed on the trigger. Because the conspiracy went deeper than we knew. I couldn't risk compromising you by revealing we were working together. If they'd found out you were my asset, they would have killed you immediately. Park looked at Chen.
Agent Chen knows. She's been my NCIS liaison for 6 months. The raid on Redstone? That was built on evidence I've been gathering for 2 years. Chen nodded slowly. He's telling the truth. I verified his credentials when he first contacted me about Elena's mission. He's been running this investigation since before any of us knew there was a conspiracy.
Brandon's weapon wavered. If you knew about this, why didn't you stop it? Why did you let my father die?
Because I didn't know they'd move that fast.
Park's voice cracked, the first emotion he'd shown.
I thought we had time. I thought Admiral Keller would make his calls, delay the operation, and we'd swoop in with arrests before they could retaliate. I was wrong. And your father paid the price from my miscalculation.
Who else? Marcus demanded. Who else is involved that we don't know about? Park pulled out his phone, showed them files.
The raid on Redstone turned up 73 names. Military personnel, defense contractors, government officials. Some were conspirators. Some were marked as threats, like Admiral Keller. Some were potential recruits they were assessing. And some were investigators like you, Elena said, understanding. They put your name on the list to make you look guilty if anyone found it. Exactly. Same technique they used with the Admiral. Build a paper trail that destroys credibility before anyone can testify. Park scrolled through the files. But here's what they didn't account for. Every piece of evidence they created implicating me, I have the original communications showing it was fabricated. Every payment they routed through accounts with my name, I have the financial forensics proving I never touched that money.
Because you were building a case, Devon said. You were letting them operate so you could document everything.
Not just document, identify. 3 months ago we knew about Donovan and Oakes, but we didn't know about Kim. We didn't know about the manufacturers. We didn't know Redstone was the hub. Elena's investigation filled in those gaps. Her work is what finally gave us enough to move. TJ lowered his weapon.
So what now? We just exposed this whole thing on live television. We probably compromised your investigation.
No, Park smiled grimly. You accelerated it. The FBI was planning to raid Redstone next week. You forced their hand. They moved tonight instead, which meant Redstone didn't have time to destroy evidence. We got everything. Financial records, communications, client lists. Everything.
Kwan's phone buzzed. He checked it, his eyes widening. The news is reporting mass arrests. Redstone's CEO, 7 military officers, 14 defense contractor executives. They're calling it the biggest military corruption scandal in modern history. And it is, Chen said.
Preliminary estimates suggest this conspiracy has defrauded the Department of Defense of over $8 billion in the past decade. $8 billion that should have gone to quality equipment, and instead went to substandard gear and offshore accounts. $8 billion. Brandon's voice was hollow. My father died for $8 billion. Your father died because he had integrity, Park corrected. Because when faced with a choice between saving lives and following orders, he chose lives. That's not a common quality, even in the military, especially not at flag rank. Elena finally holstered her weapon.
Donovan and Oakes, they're still out there.
Not for long. Chen pulled up new data. Remember how I said the wire transfer to Donovan's sister bounced through multiple countries? We traced it. The money originated from a bank in the Cayman Islands. Account holder, Commander Phillips, the man who helped them escape.
He was part of the conspiracy?
Devon asked. No, he was being extorted. But he also saw an opportunity. He helped Donovan and Oakes escape, but he also emptied their offshore accounts and rerouted the money to his wife and daughter. $2.3 million. His suicide note, the real one, not the one Donovan mentioned, was in his desk. It said he knew they'd kill him either way, but at least his family would be taken care of.
Where are Donovan and Oakes now?
Elena pressed. Mexico, Tijuana. They tried to cross the border 3 hours ago using fake passports. Border Patrol flagged them. They're in federal custody as we speak. Chen smiled. Turns out running a conspiracy is easier than actually running from one. The relief that washed through the warehouse was palpable. 20 hours of terror, investigation, and combat distilled into a single moment of victory.
We won, Marcus said quietly. We actually won.
We stopped them, Elena corrected.
Winning comes later, at trial,
when every single person involved faces justice. Park's phone rang. He answered, listened, his face transforming from grim to something lighter. Understood, sir. Yes, sir. I'll inform them. He hung up, looked at the group. That was the Secretary of Defense. He's ordering all charges against you 5 trainees dropped. He's also recommending commendations for your actions in preventing Operation Crossfire casualties. Brandon blinked. What? You heard me. The Secretary watched your broadcast. The President watched your broadcast. The entire Joint Chiefs watched your broadcast. And the consensus is that you 5 prevented the largest single-day loss of Special Operations personnel in American history. You're heroes. We assaulted a Navy SEAL, TJ said. We harassed her. We surrounded her. We grabbed her. And then you helped her stop a conspiracy that killed 20 people and nearly killed 30 more, Park said. Redemption is a hell of a drug. The brass wants to use you as an example. Show that even people who make mistakes can rise to the occasion when it counts. What about Elena? Devon asked. She broke every regulation in the book tonight. Petty Officer Reyes, Park said formally. I am authorized to inform you that your actions over the past 18 months, including tonight's unauthorized investigation and public disclosure, have been retroactively classified as part of an official DoD Inspector General operation. You will face no disciplinary action. In fact, you're being recommended for the Defense Superior Service Medal. Elena felt her knees go weak. I don't understand. You were working for me the whole time, Park said gently. You just didn't know I was working for the Inspector General. Your cover story is that you were my undercover asset in an authorized investigation. It's even true, mostly. The only lie is pretending I told you about my real identity from the beginning. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. It is when the alternative is admitting that our special operations personnel have been dying because of systemic corruption for the past decade. It is when the alternative is explaining to Gold Star families that we knew there was a problem, but chose to hide it instead of fixing it. Park's voice was firm. The military needs heroes right now. People who stood up when it mattered. You're that hero. So are these 5 trainees. So was Admiral Keller. We're going to tell that story because it's the truth, and because it's what the people who died deserve. Brandon was crying again, but this time the tears were different. Relief. Pride. Grief transformed into something that could be born. My father died a hero, he said quietly. That's all I wanted. For people to know he was a good man, who did the right thing. Everyone will know, Chen promised. I'm personally making sure of it. Kwan's phone buzzed again. The news is running a story on Admiral Keller. They're calling him the flag officer who died trying to save his people. They're interviewing former subordinates who say he was one of the finest leaders they ever served under. He was, Brandon said. I just wish I'd told him that while he was alive. He knew, Elena said softly. In the end, when it mattered, he knew. You called him Dad. You tried to save him. You honored him by finishing what he started. That's all any father wants from his son. 3 weeks later, Elena stood in dress whites at Arlington National Cemetery. Admiral Richard Keller's funeral was attended by hundreds of officers, thousands of enlisted personnel, and a nation that finally understood what he'd died protecting. Brandon delivered the eulogy, his voice strong despite the grief still raw on his face. My father was a complicated man. He believed in rules, in order, in discipline. Sometimes that made him hard to love. But it also made him incorruptible. When he saw something wrong, he couldn't let it go, even when staying silent would have been safer, even when speaking up cost him everything. Brandon's voice cracked. He died because he chose honor over survival, because he chose his people over his career, because he was, in the end, exactly the officer he always told me to be. I spent my whole life trying to earn his approval. Turns out, he spent his whole life trying to earn mine. I wish I'd understood that sooner. But I understand it now, Dad. And I promise you, I'll spend the rest of my life living up to the example you set. The honor guard fired their volley. The bugler played taps. The flag was folded and presented to Brandon with the words every military family dreaded and honored. On behalf of a grateful nation. After the ceremony, Elena found Devon standing by his father's grave. Staff Sergeant Michael Washington had been reburied with full honors after the conspiracy was exposed, his death officially reclassified from equipment malfunction to killed in action by enemy sabotage. You okay? Elena asked. I don't know, Devon admitted. I spent 7 years thinking my dad just got unlucky. Now I know he was murdered. Is that better or worse? It's different. It's true. And the truth matters, even when it hurts. Elena placed a hand on the gravestone. Your father was a warrior who died in service to his country. The enemy just happened to be wearing American uniforms. That doesn't make his sacrifice less meaningful. It makes it more important that we remember. The Army is reopening his case. They're saying he might get the Silver Star for the action that got him killed, for saving 3 of his men before his NVGs failed. Devon's voice was thick. He died a hero. I always knew that. But now everyone else will know it too. Marcus, TJ, and Quan joined them, all in dress uniforms, all looking older than they had 3 weeks ago. We ship out tomorrow, Marcus said. They're sending us to different schools, advanced training. Apparently saving 30 lives buys you some career opportunities. What are you going to do? TJ asked Elena. I don't know yet, Elena admitted. They offered me a desk job at Naval Special Warfare Command, training new SEAL candidates, making sure the next generation doesn't face what we faced. But? Quan prompted. But I'm still a warrior, still young enough to deploy, still capable of doing the job I was trained for. Elena's jaw tightened. Part of me wants to go back to the teams, finish my career doing what I love. And the other part? Devon asked. The other part knows that training the next generation might be more important than one more deployment. That teaching people like you, 5, to be better warriors, better leaders, better men, that might be the mission that matters most. Brandon approached, the folded flag from his father's funeral clutched in his hands. I've been thinking about what my dad would want me to do, what would honor him, what would make him proud. What did you decide? Elena asked. I'm staying in, finishing my training, applying for SEAL selection. Brandon's voice was firm. My father spent his career supporting special operations. He died protecting operators. The best way I can honor him is to become the kind of warrior he gave his life to save, to be the officer he raised me to be instead of the one I was pretending to be. SEAL training is brutal, Elena warned. Most people quit, even people who want it more than anything. I know. But I also know that 3 weeks ago, I was an arrogant kid who thought being big and loud made me strong. Now I know real strength is being willing to change, to admit when you're wrong, to keep going when everything hurts. Brandon met her eyes. You taught me that. In 45 seconds, you taught me what 4 years of college and 3 weeks of military training couldn't. I want to learn more. Elena smiled. Then I guess I'll see you at BUD/S. Because I took the job. Lead instructor for the prep course. I start in 2 months. Does that mean you'll be my instructor? Brandon asked. It means if you make it to my course, I'll be the person who decides if you're ready for actual SEAL selection. And I won't go easy on you just because your father was a hero. In fact, I'll probably be harder on you because of it. Good, Brandon said. I don't want easy. I want to earn it. 6 months later, Elena stood in front of a new class of SEAL prep candidates. 60 faces looking back at her, some confident, some terrified, all of them about to learn what they were really made of. My name is Petty Officer Elena Reyes, she said. Some of you know me from a viral video where I defended myself against 5 men in a mess hall. Some of you know me from news reports about the Redstone conspiracy. What you don't know is that those 45 seconds in a mess hall taught me more about leadership than 4 years of SEAL training. She walked down the line, making eye contact with each candidate. You're going to fail here, all of you, multiple times. Some of you will quit, most of you probably. But the ones who don't quit, the ones who get back up every time they fall, who help their teammates even when they're dying themselves, who choose integrity over ego. Those are the ones who become SEALs. Not the strongest, not the fastest. The ones who refuse to quit on themselves or each other. Brandon stood in the front row, his face set in determination. Devon was 3 rows back, his father's dog tags visible under his shirt. Marcus, TJ, and Quan had gone to other schools, but they'd all stayed in touch, all of them pushing forward, all of them becoming better versions of themselves. The conspiracy that killed 20 operators? We stopped it. The people responsible? They're facing justice. 37 of them are already convicted, more trials coming. But here's what matters most. We proved that doing the right thing matters, that standing up to corruption matters, that one person, or 5 people, or 6 people working together can change everything. Elena pulled up an image on the screen behind her. 20 faces. The operators who died because of sabotaged equipment. Admiral Keller's face was among them now, honored alongside the warriors he'd died protecting. These people can't be here, but we can. And our job, our mission, is to make sure no one else joins this wall. That means being the best warriors we can be. That means holding ourselves and each other to the highest standards. That means never compromising integrity for convenience. She paused, looking at each young face, seeing the futures they could become. Some of you came here thinking you knew what strength was. You're about to learn you were wrong. Strength isn't about how much you can lift or how fast you can run. It's about how you treat people when you have power over them. It's about doing the right thing when the wrong thing is easier. It's about being willing to stand alone if that's what integrity demands. Brandon raised his hand. Petty Officer Reyes, what if we fail? What if we're not strong enough? Elena smiled. Then you get back up. You try again. You ask for help. You learn. You grow. That's not failure. That's training. The only real failure is quitting on yourself before you've discovered what you're capable of. The class began. 60 candidates. Brutal physical training, mental challenges, team exercises designed to break people down and build them back up. Elena pushed them hard, but she also taught them the lessons she'd learned, that assumptions about people based on appearance were dangerous. That every person had value, regardless of size or gender or background. That the strongest teams were built on trust and respect, not fear and dominance. 12 candidates quit the first week, 15 more the second week. By week 6, only 23 remained. Brandon was still there, bruised, exhausted, but standing. He'd learned to lead without dominating, to listen instead of assuming, to value his teammates' strengths instead of competing with them. At the end of the 12-week course, 15 candidates graduated. 15 young warriors, ready to attempt BUD/S, ready to chase the trident, ready to become SEALs. Brandon stood with them, transformed from the arrogant kid who'd grabbed Elena's collar into a leader his father would have been proud of. You did it, Elena said to him after the ceremony. You earned your shot. We did it, Brandon corrected. You, me, Devin, all of us. We proved that people can change, that mistakes don't define you, that choosing to be better is what makes you worthy. Elena looked at the young warriors she'd helped shape, saw their potential, saw their dedication, saw the future of naval special warfare standing before her. Your father would be proud, she said to Brandon. I know, he replied, because I finally understand what he was trying to teach me all along. That service means sacrifice, that leadership means putting others first, that real strength is the willingness to change, to grow, to become better than you were. 1 year after the mess hall incident, the final trial concluded. Redstone Defense Solutions' CEO was sentenced to 45 years in federal prison. Donovan received life without parole. Oakes got 30 years. Kim received 25. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Kim, former logistics officer turned conspirator, used her trial to make a statement about military corruption that sparked additional investigations and reforms. 7 flag officers were court-martialed. 43 defense contractor executives were convicted. The Department of Defense implemented new oversight procedures for equipment procurement and maintenance. Independent inspectors were assigned to every special operations unit. Safeguards were put in place to protect whistleblowers and investigators. The families of the 20 dead operators received full honors, complete disclosure, and financial compensation. Devon's father was posthumously awarded the Silver Star. Admiral Keller received the Defense Distinguished Service Medal, presented to Brandon at a White House ceremony. And Elena Reyes, the Navy SEAL who defended herself in 45 seconds and spent the next 20 hours exposing a multi-billion-dollar conspiracy, received something more valuable than any medal. She received a purpose. Standing in front of each new class of candidates, sharing the lessons she'd learned, shaping the next generation of warriors who would carry forward the values of integrity, courage, and service that defined the best of the military. She taught them that strength came in many forms, that assumptions were dangerous, that every person deserved respect, regardless of appearance, that the truest measure of a warrior wasn't how many enemies they defeated, but how they treated the people they were sworn to protect. Brandon eventually made it through BUD/S, earning his trident and becoming a Navy SEAL. He served with distinction, always carrying the folded flag from his father's funeral in his deployment bag, a reminder of sacrifice, of honor, of the cost of doing what's right. Devon completed his training too, becoming the warrior his father had hoped he would be. He specialized in equipment maintenance and safety, making it his personal mission to ensure no operator ever died from preventable equipment failure again. Marcus, TJ, and Quan went on to successful military careers, each carrying forward the lessons they'd learned that night, when 5 trainees chose redemption over ego. And sometimes, late at night, Elena would stand alone in the gym where she'd first demonstrated her skills. She'd remember that morning in the mess hall, remember the 45 seconds that changed everything. Remember the choice she'd made to defend herself, to stand her ground, to refuse to be diminished by people who thought they knew what strength looked like. She'd been surrounded by 5 men who underestimated her. 45 seconds later, they learned who she really was. But the real lesson, the one that mattered, wasn't about fighting. It was about character, about choosing who you wanted to be when tested, about having the courage to change when you realized you were wrong. That was the lesson Elena taught now. Not how to fight, though she taught that too, but how to be worthy of the uniform, how to serve with honor, how to protect the people who couldn't protect themselves, how to stand up for what's right, even when it cost everything. Because in the end, that's what separated warriors from soldiers. That's what made the difference between serving a country and serving yourself. That's what Admiral Keller had died teaching his son. That's what Staff Sergeant Washington had died protecting. That's what 20 operators had unknowingly sacrificed for. The truth that integrity matters more than success, that honor matters more than advancement, that protecting others matters more than protecting yourself, that sometimes doing the right thing means standing alone against overwhelming odds and refusing to back down. Elena Reyes had been surrounded at a mess hall. 45 seconds later, her SEAL identity had stunned everyone watching. But the real revelation hadn't been her fighting skills or her secret training. It had been the reminder that courage comes in many forms, that strength isn't about size or gender, and that the most powerful force in the world isn't violence. It's the unwavering commitment to do what's right, no matter the cost, no matter the consequences, no matter who stands against you.